Well, hello, welcome to another episode of Jim's Allotment Garden. Okay, so it's time to pot on the broccoli. Now this broccoli, as you know, I planted around sort of 3 weeks ago, and it's starting to get to the point now where it's kind of 2 or 3 inches high. I don't know if you can see that. So it's most certainly now time to get it in the pots. Now at this time of year, it's no different to how we did it before. Basically, I'm going to be planting them into these square pots. Now what I do basically is I'm using clover compost as always. Just fill the pot up to the top, make a hole in the bottom, like that, in the middle like that, so it's ready to take your cutting. Sorry, your sealing. Now all I do is put my finger, I don't know if you can see, but I'll stick my finger underneath the plant, and what that will do is it'll dislodge the plants from the tray. Now what you want to do is disturb the roots as much as possible, or sorry, the least amount as possible. So try and get a clump of compost with each one, and then bob it in like that. It's just a quick tap, and then that's that potted up into the and that will grow on. And these basically are going to go out in around sort of two or 3 weeks time, and then that will give me a second crop. Now I did actually have a look at the ones that I put in the spring. They're obviously in the main tunnel in the allotment, and they are actually now starting to form the florets at the top, the bit that you eat. So I'll probably be harvesting those in the next couple of weeks, at which point obviously that ground will become free, and also I have some space in the bottom tunnel as well to put some more in. So basically all I'm going to do is rattle through these. Again, you can get into a bit of a rhythm of these. No, I'm hoping that these will actually harvest around sort of September time, so sort of later on in this year. Now, brassicas are actually quite robust against sort of bad weather. They will obviously sort of run to seed. They're no good. They will obviously run to seed if the weather conditions aren't too good for them. But obviously things like cabbage and that, as you probably already know, you can grow winter cabbage and they'll grow straight through, through the winter months. So you can grow brassicas pretty much all year round within reason. Obviously you need to pick your varieties and your strains to make sure that you can't grow all of them all year round. But what you most certainly can is grow some kind of brassica pretty much at any point of the year. So basically just bob them in like that, make sure that they're nice and deep. You can actually bury them slightly deeper than they were originally. You haven't got to be absolutely precise to the same depth as they were before. You can put them in slightly deeper, and what that will do actually is support the plant a little bit better. The one problem that you get with brassicas is the roots aren't particularly supportive of the rest of the plant. So if you can put them in slightly deeper, what that will do is it will give the plant as it grows a little bit more support, and that will help it to grow a lot better. And then when you actually do put it into the ground, it will be that much better anchored in the ground, and it's not likely to be blown over, etc. Okay, so there's the first 30 plants. What I will do is do some more tomorrow, because it's forecast to rain tomorrow, so I'm going to leave the rest to tomorrow, because I can do that obviously in the greenhouse whilst it's raining. So that's the broccoli for now. Obviously the reason why I explained to do the broccoli now is what I'm just explaining to you how you can extend your growing season. So rather than just putting one set of crops in and then sort of taking all that out in one go, what you can do by doing this, you get a succession of crops, which then extends your growing season, and you get a lot more produce out of the allotment. than you would do if you only did one lot of the different vegetables. Okay, so these are the birdhouse gourds, and as you can see, they've really grown over the last few weeks, and also they're throwing out these sort of tendrils to sort of grab onto whatever they can now. Obviously you can see there he's trying to grab hold of this mint plant, and they'll basically wrap themselves around anything. Here's the second one here. As you can see, that's growing really well. So what I need to do now is put something in for them to grow up, and what I'm going to do is just put some grill against this fence, and then I'll train them along that way. And this one here will grow up, and then I'll train it along that way. So I'll just put some grill in here, and all you need to do is just tie it a couple of times to the grill, and then it will most certainly start to attach itself then, and then sort of away it goes. So I'll just do that now, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so all I'm going to use is some of these fencing clip type nails, and what I'm going to do is attach this wire. Now what this is just a section of Harrison fence panel. You could use a number of things to do this, but it's going to be easy enough for me just to attach some of this to this fence so it can climb up and get a purchase on the fence, and then away it goes. Okay, so that's it, fastening against the fence. Now you don't need anything that's overly strong, it just needs to sort of hold it against the fence on both sides. Obviously, this is only temporary measures. Obviously, as soon as the plant's finished, you'll be taking this out again, and obviously unless you're doing it again next year. But I've just tied it in a couple of places there, and these sort of tendrils will then sort of wrap themselves around the framework here, and sort of hold itself up from there, and then so that these will sort of grow up, and then obviously what I'm going to do is then encourage it to grow across that way and across this way. Now this isn't the only way to do it. What you can do is you can grow this up against a tree or something like that, or what you can do, what I've seen some of the people in America doing, is just let them go across the floor, and they will grow across the floor, but obviously then the fruits are then on the floor, and the only sort of problem with doing that is the fruits don't form perfectly symmetrical. What they can do is, because they're sitting on the floor, they'll have like a flat, sort of flat side to them, if you like. But if you haven't got a wall or a fence or anything to grow them up, what you can do is make a small frame, like a, like we did for the beans, the runner beans, and you can grow them up a frame like that. But ideally what you want to have is the fruits, or the birdhouse gourds. You want them to be hanging, so you end up with a symmetrical fruit at to harvest at the end of the year. Okay, so I just want to go through a few of the comments that have come over the last week or so, and I do appreciate everybody's comments, so big thank you for that. First one comes from Sandy Moth, and they were asking what varieties of strawberries I've got. To be honest with you, I don't know. I inherited the strawberry plants when I first got the allotments. In fact, where this greenhouse is now was a strawberry patch, and all I did was basically kept the younger plants, and obviously this is about the 5th generation since I've had them. But I don't know the varieties. What I can say is I've got a number of varieties. I've got at least three or four different varieties in there. And I think if you are going out to buy strawberry plants, what I would suggest is don't get one type, get 3 or 4 different types, and then you'll get a better sort of succession of fruit, if you like. Because the one thing with strawberries is they all come together, which is a bit of a problem because you just can't eat them all. And also, if you get different varieties will be more sort of less susceptible to certain problems than others. So you're more likely to succeed with a number of varieties as opposed to just one. But unfortunately, I don't know what varieties I have got, but all I know is they work for me. The next one comes from Cannon Trumpet, asking about Allotment. Now, that's what Allotment looks like. Basically, there's a number of ways that you can eat it. Now, these are the sort of the tubers that form underneath the ground. So what you do is you grow the plants. You plant them like potatoes. You plant these in the ground, You grow them like potatoes. They come in a variety of colours, as you can see on there. There's green ones, red ones, yellow ones, and there's these sort of mottled, sorry you can't see it, green ones, red ones, yellow ones, and then there's sort of this pinky, blotchy one that you can get. They are native to Peru. They grow out in Peru, and they grow them there very much like we grow potatoes in the UK or you know, the rest of the world. And they are their biggest form of sort of starch, if you like our potatoes are. They basically, you can eat the top part of the plant as a salad, or you can grow it and obviously eat the sort of the tuber at the bottom. You can cook them exactly like potatoes. You can either fry them or boil them or roast them or whatever you want. And so they're basically like potatoes, but they're, you know, obviously slightly different. But that's a look-out for you. As I say, they come from Peru. They're not native to the UK at all. That's basically loco in a nutshell. But if you go on the internet, just search for loco, and then you'll get all the information you need. Okay, the next comment comes from Brian Hubry, and he was talking about the pale leaves on the courgettes down there, and he was saying it's actually called chlorosis, which I guess is chlorophyll. It sort of comes from that lack of chlorophyll, so chlorosis. So yeah, thank you for your comment, Brian. Next one comes from Me Loves Coffee, and they were saying mulching the courgettes has caused the problem. Basically, you may, I completely understand your comment, but because what I'm thinking is because the courgette plants have got the problem, next to the courgette plants, in exactly the same piece of ground with exactly the same mulch, etc. I've got the pumpkins and also the butternut squashes. They're all the same kind of plant. The butternut squashes and the pumpkins are loving it. You know, they've got absolutely no problem at all. But the courgettes have got the problem on their own. So I think possibly the courgette plants have got stressed, or they've got some other problem. But most certainly at the moment, it seems like it's unique to the courgette plant. So I don't think it is the ground. Next comment comes from Brian Hubry, which is a really good comment. Thank you, Brian. And he was talking about F1 hybrids. And he was saying the problem with F1 hybrids is they all harvest at the same time. So if you've got, if you're growing a particular type of plant, they will typically all mature at the same time. If you plant them at the same time when they're all F1 hybrids, because obviously they're all the plants are identical. So what he suggests is either just grow a few of that F1 hybrid, and then also grow a non-F1 hybrid variety as well. And they'll obviously harvest at different times. The other thing you could do is grow a succession of F1 hybrids. So, you know, grow some and then 2 weeks later grow the next batch, and then rather than pouring them all out in one go, you know, do it in succession of 2 weeks, and then obviously you'll get a spread, you know, with the crops coming to their fruition, you know, in a succession as opposed to them all coming at once. So thank you, Brian. That's a really good point. The next one comes from Tina and Jason from Allotment Upcycling, and they were saying that they've got a problem with their courgettes. And what they're saying is the courgettes are forming and then they're rotting off. And Tina said, is this lack of pollination? Yes, it is. What you need is basically, for some reason you don't seem to be pollinating them. Now, I don't know if you got them inside or out, I'm not quite sure, I can't remember where you got yours. But what you need to do is, if you have got them in a particular position, what you need to do is encourage insects into that area. And obviously, as you know, around my allotment, I've got various things, weeds mainly, that attract that attract insects. Like I've got the comfrey that the bees love. I've also got the sunflowers, and I've got the the calendars and stuff like that. And these all attract the insects. Obviously, also the fruit, the fruit as well, like the raspberries tend to attract bees as well. What this will do is it'll attract them into the flower, and they'll pollinate it for you. If you have got a lack of insects in the area, what it may well do is it won't pollinate. So all you need to do is basically get your finger in there and or a little brush or something, and just move the pollination around. Pollen around the different flowers. It's better if you've got a number of flowers and then you go around each of the flowers, then go back again. That will help to pollinate it a bit better. The other thing, obviously the traditional way doing it, what you used to have was a rabbit's tail, and you used to put the rabbit's tail in each of the flowers, but obviously I'm not suggesting you go out and cut a rabbit's tail off. But yeah, what you need to do is just get a little brush or just your finger will do, and then just rub it round inside. Obviously, don't damage the flower. Be gentle about it, but just dab some of the pollen from one flower to the next, and then that'll get it pollinated. Next one comes from Me Loves Coffee, and talking about tomatoes. And unfortunately, they were explaining they've got this sort of dark chocolatey brown fungus on the leaves. It's almost certainly, I've not suffered with it myself, but it's almost certainly a fungus. If you've got a fungus on the leaves, you are right. I agree with you. It's not blight, because blight typically attacks the underneath of the leaves, and what you'll get is like a dark sort of, or not dark, a sort of paley brown patch, and then around the edge of that you'll get sort of like a fungus sort of spores sticking out. So yes, I do think you're right. It's not blight, but what I would suggest you do is remove any of the leaves that are affected, and hopefully it's not spread too much. If you have got a leaf, for argument's sake, like this one, I don't know if you can see, if it's only affecting one part of it, just take that part off. Keep your hands clean, because the spores are going to be all over your hands, so just touch the infected part if you like, or just touch the infected parts with one hand, holding the healthy part with the other hand. And what I would suggest you do is get more ventilation in. What you can do is cut down on the watering for a few days, just to reduce the humidity in the air. Just water them the least amount as possible, and try and get more ventilation through, and then that should dry it out, which is basically that's not the right kind of conditions for the fungi to the fungus to to multiply and stuff like that. So try and keep the air as dry as you can, and then any infected leaves, take them off and remove them from the greenhouse and dispose of them in the bin or whatever. But if you have got any of these spots, I've not suffered from it for myself, but I would imagine it's some kind of fungus. If anybody else has seen this on your tomato plants, please do put a comment down to Me Loves Coffee. But I've not suffered with it myself, but it's most certainly a fungus. So improve the ventilation in your greenhouse, and any infected leaves or branches or anything, remove them and sort of get them out of the way. If you do have any healthy plants and they're in pots, then remove the plants altogether and keep them away, sort of separate them from the plants that are affected. Is my best bit of advice for you. Next one comes from Victoria Holstrom, talking about raspberries, and she was saying that she's had a number of raspberry bushes that she's bought, planted them, and they've died, and she says she's managed to get some to grow this year, and but she says there's something eating the leaves. To be honest with you, it could be a number of things that's eating the leaves. What you need to try and do is try and find whatever it is that's eating the leaves. If you can give me a bit more information, I might be able to help you. Are the leaves constantly being eaten, or is it just like they just eat the leaves and then it stops? And if they are being eaten, just have a look underneath the leaves to see if you can actually see what's actually doing it. Is it a caterpillar, or is it actually a beetle or something like that? That would help as well. What I would suggest to you is, by the sounds of it, you've got something that's in the ground. So what I would suggest is move your raspberry canes to a different area, because it seems like if you're putting them in one area, it seems like whatever's eating them is there. But if you can just explain what it actually is, I might be able to help you a bit better. The one thing I will say with the other raspberries and stuff that you've had is the raspberries here grow like weeds, to be honest with you. And the trick to it is you've got to get fertile ground. I can't stress this enough. If you get the ground right, everything else will come. And even if you have got bugs in there eating the leaves, there'll be that many leaves that it won't make that much difference. So what I would suggest you do is get a new piece of ground which you haven't had raspberries in before, which hopefully there's no bug in there. Dig loads of good compost in there, manure, whatever you can get your hands on basically, and get the ground as fertile as you possibly can do, and then plant your raspberries in there, and all being well, they'll just go, and then they'll be like weeds like they are here. But what you do need to do is get the ground right first, and from what you've said in your comments, it sounds like the ground's not quite right. So get the ground as fertile as you possibly can do. For the first year, give them plenty of water so they can establish the roots, and then as soon as they've done that, they should be away. But as I say, if you give me a bit more information on what's eating the leaves, I might be able to help you sort of find out what it is. What I would suggest, if you don't know what it is, get some garlic, crush the garlic, put it in some water and shake it, and then spray that on the plants, because that will stop most insects from going on the leaves. The next comment comes from Klausy, or Klausy 1000, and he was saying about growing tomatoes in rows. Obviously, I think your growing conditions are a lot drier than ours, and he actually grows tomatoes in rows as close as these are. I'm guessing he grows them outside as well, but he was saying that he does grow them this close to each other, and he does have a lot of success. But obviously, your growing season's probably a lot longer than ours, and probably a lot drier as well. But thank you for your comments. The next one comes from Slasher, and he was saying that he's got some tomatoes, and then on the end of the fruiting truss, it's actually formed into a leaf. This is quite common. I get this pretty much every year. I've actually been looking to see if I've got an example of it. But all you need to do, you can either leave it. It's not going to cause any problem. What you can do is just leave it on there, and it'll just carry on growing. Or if it's bothering you, just cut the leaf part off, and it'll grow perfectly well. I did have a few of them last year around this kind of area here. For some reason, they were all located in one area last year. But I've had it with a number of varieties of tomatoes. It's just something that tomatoes do. But as I say, it won't harm the fruit. You can leave it on there, or what you can do is just chop the leaf bit off at the end. But basically, what he's got is he's got the plant. He's got the fruit truss coming out with the flowers on, and then on the end of that, there's a leaf. So basically, just cut that off. But it is common. It's not unusual. The next two comments come from Brett Blake and also Vicky Olsen, talking about tomatoes, and it was really interesting. Thank you for your comments. You've obviously got a lot longer growing season than us, but what you were explaining was quite interesting, where the little side shoots that I'm pulling off my tomatoes, you actually put them in a pot and root them and grow them on as a plant. Now, because the growing season in the UK is not that long, well, I could do that, but it won't sort of grow into anything big enough to have fruit on it. You're also explaining that what you were doing was getting a tomato that's been on the plant, and you've left it in the windowsill, and then when you open the tomato up, the seeds have actually germinated inside the tomato, which was another interesting point. But Vicky was talking about, from one, if you have got an extended growing season, like you're a lot closer to the equator than I am here, what you could do is get one mother plant, and then all of these side shoots, you break those off, pop them on, and then sort of root them in, as a cutting, and then grow them. What you could have is one original plant with hundreds of sort of plants that you've grown from this one plant, if you like. So, but yeah, you are right. You could do that. And there were really interesting comments from Brett and Vicky. So thank you for that. And that's all the comments for this session. Okay, so it's at this time of year where your greenhouse can get a little bit sort of crowded around the bottom of the tomato plants. Now, ventilation is quite important, because there are a number of issues that you can get, blight being the main one. But what you most certainly need to do is just go around. What I always like to do is wait till the weeds are reasonably big, so I can grab hold of them and pull them out in one go. But just go around like that and pull out any weeds that you've got in there. Obviously, in a greenhouse environment, weeds are going to grow sort of quicker than they are outside. But more importantly, as you can see, I've got some sort of little mushrooms growing there, which shows that it's reasonably moist down here. Now these tomatoes at the end here aren't the cordon type. These are the rainbow F1, and you're supposed to just leave these to grow. But as you can see, these branches here are starting to become a little bit of a problem. So what I'm going to do is actually reduce the number of branches, because basically what's important is I get a reasonable airflow around the bottom here, because what I don't want is any sort of sort of issues where the there's too much moisture sort of around here, and it's that type of atmosphere that you need to be careful of. But also what you need to do is on the tomatoes, you need to make sure that you've got no sort of, obviously these ones you just leave them as they are. But any leaves like this that you've got any sort of damage on like that, you most certainly want to take that out straight away. Any damaged leaves. Now, don't be frightened to reduce the number of leaves on a tomato plant as well. because most certainly when the tomatoes start to ripe, you know, you need as much sunlight on them as possible. So what I typically do is take some of the leaves off the tomato plants to you know, to enable the light to get through to the fruits, so that it you know, so they ripen that much better. Now, so what I'll do is I'll go along here, and where we've got sort of leaves intertangled like that, intertangled, sorry, with each other. What I'll do is I'll start to reduce the number of leaves just by cutting them off with a nice clean either pair of secateurs or knife, just so I've got a reasonable airflow around, particularly around the bottom of the plant. Try to be even-handed with it, obviously. So if I take one leaf off this plant, I'll then try and take a leaf off this plant, so I'm not reducing the leaves too much on on any one particular tomato plant. Obviously, the plant needs the leaves to photosynthesize and, you know, and to get all the goodness and stuff. So it's a kind of a balancing act between you know, keeping enough leaves on there to support the plant, but also taking off some of the leaves to enable adequate airflow around the bottom of the plant, to prevent any you know, sort of moisture building up around the bottom. So I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today. Please don't hesitate to put any comments or questions you've got below, and I'll always get back to you, and I'll see you on the next episode of Jim's Up Garden.